The late 2000s were an interesting time for video games. Online multiplayer was becoming all the rage, and rightfully so. The era of dark and gritty video game reboots was hitting its peak, and Sonic the Hedgehog was over here doing this. The console wars were heating up.
Hey, look at these radical colors, huh?
No, the other console wars.
No!
The Xbox 360 was impressing with the power to deliver graphics and online gaming like never before. The PlayStation 3 was somehow struggling to sell units with this nightmare fuel, and both of these were being left in the dust by a revolution in crisp 480p. Nintendo had taken the concept of motion control in video games and made it a reality in an incredibly accessible and affordable package known as the Wii. Microsoft, attempting to mimic the success of the Wii and appeal to more casual audiences, started work on a motion control accessory for the Xbox 360. Initially, it was extremely similar to the Wii Remote, but over time became hands-free, incorporated a camera in order to capture full-body movement, and a microphone. This would eventually result in the successful release of the Kinect in 2010. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you here. I was planning on going through more of the development history of these games, comparing sales figures and the legacy of these games and their systems, but that story's been told. I wanted to focus more on the headlining game series of these systems. Wii Sports, one of the most impactful and successful video games of all time, and Kinect Adventures, the pack-in title for the Kinect and best-selling Xbox 360 game. But I figured Kinect Sports would be a more appropriate comparison. Plus, it had far more replay value than Kinect Adventures did. So I went back and started playing the Kinect Sports games. Yeah, that's right, games, with an S. Did you even know there were 2 of them? Well, there aren't. There are 3. And I didn't know about this third one until I was 90% done with this script. And guess what? This one only came out for the Xbox One, which means you need an Xbox One specific Kinect, not an Xbox 360 Kinect, to play it. And on top of that, I have an Xbox One S, which does not have the necessary port for the Kinect, meaning I had to buy a separate adapter cable for it to work. And after all of that, I turned the game on only to be met with this face.
Don't hurt yourself, alright?
So I hope you guys appreciate this video because I went through a lot for it. Anyway, here's a video about motion-controlled sports games and the illusion of choice or something. Next to tennis, baseball was maybe the most obvious inclusion for Wii Sports lineup. The satisfaction of pitching and batting with the convenience of a Wii remote makes this game mode an easy slam dunk, or home run. Also, slam dunks aren't that easy. I don't know why that's a phrase. Seriously, you go do a slam dunk right now. Do it. I'll wait. The game doesn't give you the option of fielding or base running, but this minimal level of autonomy is definitely for the best. This one always feels like such an easy game to come back to. Throwing your opponents off while pitching, or racking up an infinite number of runs on the computer. You get pretty much exactly what you want out of this game. Baseball might be the strangest and glitchiest sport in either of the Kinect 360 games, but that doesn't mean it's the worst. They aren't really glitches that break the gameplay, they're just bugs. And honestly, they kind of make it more entertaining, assuming you weren't actually expecting any sort of realistic experience from this one. The gameplay is about what you would expect, where you more or less mimic the actual movements you do in baseball, except that it gives you a lot more guidance and suggestions. The batting is timing based, of course, though I don't know if it actually tries to determine power or direction based on your own movements. It might be entirely random. If it's a base hit, the game makes you pretend to run to first base, which is honestly just not that fun. When your team is fielding, it's your responsibility to catch fly balls. They're not hard to catch. The game gives you several seconds to get your hand to the right spot, and at worst you'll have to lean or stretch a teeny tiny bit. I do feel like giving a shout out to the computer fielders in this game. They have absolutely no idea how to play baseball whatsoever. Sometimes they won't even be there. Like, look at this, it's just weird. The announcer also has zero clue what he's doing.
Ouch! What a fastball! Great fastball! Sizzling fastball! And fastball with extra bite!
Here, I'm getting ready to serve. All I do is throw that ball up in the air, and when oh, jeez, and there goes the tennis racket.
Oh, the tennis. Oh, I didn't want to talk about the tennis right away, but unfortunately, I need to talk about it. Real quick, I want to talk about how each game handles difficulty. Wii Sports has this very simple but elegant system where the difficulty of your opponents changes dynamically based on your previous performances in whichever sport you are playing. It uses this number to keep track of your progress in the sport, and the number changes based on your outcome versus an opponent. Then, the next opponent you face will be the closest one to your current skill level. The Kinect Sports series, on the other hand, has a few difficulty options you can choose for each sport. In Kinect Sports Season 2, you have to beat a difficulty before unlocking the one above it. But in the original and in Rivals, you can choose whichever difficulty you want right away. The easy and normal difficulties don't present much of a challenge. But in some cases, like tennis, the highest one, called Champion difficulty, is ridiculous. It's often more about getting lucky with what your opponent is doing, rather than you doing the right things. Wii Sports Tennis obviously is quick and simple and silly and fun. It's basically just timing with the addition of having your remote on the correct side of your body. And I'm sure TV manufacturers loved it too. One other thing I will say, which should sound pretty obvious, part of why Wii Tennis is fun is the controller. Holding the Wii remote feels a little like holding a tennis racket, so the movements feel fairly natural, even if you're not good at actual tennis. This goes for most of Wii Sports as a whole.
To slow the ball down, swing from high to low. Oh, nice slice!
Kinect Sports Tennis. Oh boy. I do feel like I can enjoy this mode a bit when playing on Pro difficulty. The movements you do while playing feel pretty nice. The Kinect can have a tiny bit of trouble reading your hand movements in this one. If you hold your hand flat and pretend you're slapping the ball rather than using a tennis racket, it works a bit better, even if it is a tad awkward. And serving the ball simply doesn't feel like it works most of the time. If you pretend to do an accurate serving motion, the Kinect is guaranteed to lose any sense of where your arm is. You have to very intentionally hold your racket hand far away from the ball until you're ready to swing, and even then it's very difficult to get any power on it. They also made the absolutely wacky decision to put in a challenge system where sometimes the umpire will intentionally call the ball out even though it was in, and it's up to you, the player, to fix the game's mistake. But really, overall, a passable game mode and decent workout on Pro difficulty. Champion difficulty, on the other hand, is a much different story.
Overpowered in the first game.
It's unbelievably frustrating when the game just decides that your player isn't going to move. The game is taking the most important factor that you can't control and abusing it in the interest of feigning difficulty. This is sometimes difficult as it is, and surprisingly fair for the most part. I see what they're intending to do, because it might take you an extra moment to recover after returning a shot that was hard to reach, but it happens way more often than it should, and it's especially annoying because you have very limited autonomy in terms of moving around the court. Oh yeah, I forgot there's a new version of this one too. It's fine, not very exciting. It's better in some ways, like the serving speed is slightly more accurate to your actual movements, and it doesn't restrict your avatar's movement the same way as it did in the first version. If you are quick and move a little more to the side, it will be responsive and let you get to the ball on most shots. To balance that out, however, the hit detection on the racket is much less generous. In the original, it felt like your avatar would either swing way early, right on time, or way late. It's a bit more accurate to your actual timing now, and that means your window for a successful swing is smaller than it was before. And it also feels very strange aesthetically, because this setting is supposed to be like a digital recreation of these sports, I think, and there's some level of artificiality and augmented reality to them. Like, look at this version of soccer. Every player besides the goalkeeper is fake. And I don't know what kind of weird cyberspace room this is supposed to be. And then this tennis is just tennis on grass. Although we appear to be right next to a cliff on a waterfall, and that seems like an easy way to lose tennis balls. Unless it's augmented reality and the balls aren't real. I don't know. This game doesn't even seem consistent with itself.
Impressive forehand. Point awarded.
I know it's easy to say about a lot of these, but I'm not sure table tennis needed to be on the Kinect. It doesn't really add anything to the game as a package. It's little more than a tech demo. It works exactly how you'd think, except it's even more simple. As far as I can tell, you can't put any sort of spin or significant movement on your shots. You just hit it, and sometimes you hit it slightly harder or lower to the table. Also, sometimes when you're doing two-player, the ball will get stuck going back and forth like this, and there's nothing you can do to change it. On the other hand, this is a game that really shows how much more the Wii Remote can do, especially with the new Wii Motion Plus accessory that was bundled with the game. This could have easily been a very simplified approximation of ping pong, like the one in Wii Play, but they put a lot of attention to detail into it, meaning you can put variations of subtlety and spin and power on your shots. It's still a cartoony game, it's definitely not trying to be a simulation, and it's not flawless, but it often feels like you're hitting the type of shot that you expect to. Certainly one of the more memorable games in Wii Sports Resort for a reason.
For the win.
Bowling might seem like an odd choice for a sports game, but nobody told Nintendo, as it became the game most commonly associated with the Wii. Not even Wii Sports as a whole, specifically Wii Bowling. Seriously, ask anybody over the age of 40 what they know about the Wii, and they'll give you a smug look and say, "Well, I played a mean game of Wii Bowling back in the day." But the game works so well because of the controls and the controller. It's a simple enough motion to replicate, and everyone knows how to do it. Aiming is simple enough, just left and right on the D-pad. Plus, if you want to be fancy, you can turn your wrist and get some spin on the ball. Such a classic that they brought it back in this sequel for some reason. I think it's different, they changed the way the spin works, but it's not too hard to get used to. It's basically the same game though. I really don't think they should have chosen bowling for the Kinect. I understand why they did it as a selling point. Make people think, oh, it was fun on the Wii, but now I don't even need a Wii remote. That's crazy, what's that gonna be like? Well, spoiler alert, it sucks. You had every sport in the world to choose from, but you just had to have bowling because the Wii had it. All you do is take a step forward and swing your arm. Can you even put spin on the ball? I don't fucking know. I couldn't. The only worst choice for a sport you can make would be son of a bitch. Why would you put golf in here, Microsoft? Nobody wants that. How many angry emails were you getting after the first Kinect Sports that said, "How dare you not put golf in Kinect Sports? Shame on you." By the way, bowling was also in Kinect Sports Rivals. The only significant change was in the way the ball curled, and now it curls way too much and I can't get the hang of it. It's whatever. Also, look at this crowd. They're going absolutely berserk over a 3-lane bowling alley in the middle of paradise where they could be doing literally any activity they can imagine, and they're choosing to bowl. No, they're choosing to watch bowling. Okay, back to the angry golf rant. The main reason that golf worked in Wii Sports was the novelty of it. Now you make us all realize how silly we look by taking away the only thing we were holding. Were you trying to make a golf simulator that would appeal to older men? Because this is not that. This barely works as a cartoon game. There's little to no appeal to this. The environments look kind of nice, but the course design feels like a strange mix of natural and completely artificial environments, and it just doesn't work for me. The way golf functions in this game is that you line up your shot by moving left or right relative to the TV to make your character aim and move around the ball. This is a decent method of aiming to allow the Kinect to still see your hands as you swing, but it just doesn't feel right. You can also choose a different club if you want to by holding up your hand and using this extremely slow and clunky menu. You can also use the microphone to tell it which club to switch to, but let's be real. A lot of people still have affection for golf in Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. It's another case of the simplicity and clarity of its controls making it very accessible and easy to understand. Wii Sports rarely shows you more information or decoration than you need, which means that everything you see has a purpose, and it's obvious what that purpose is. Map of the hole, meter for shot strength, club being used, wind speed, distance, bada bing, bada boom. And the gameplay itself is so intuitive, people of absolutely any age can make it work.
10 goes all the way. Nice solid defense. Bam! Headshot.
Boxing. Definitely the most underwhelming, or least whelming, the least memorable part of the original Wii Sports. Nintendo would include boxing elements in future games like Wii Fit, and it feels a little more at home there. Of the game modes in Wii Sports, this was the most easily cheesable. Whether against the computer or another person, all you had to do was wag the Wii Remote and nunchuck non-stop, and occasionally change the angle to throw a hook. and the contest became entirely trivial. It's not even that fun as a 2-player game. Boxing on Kinect Sports is, well, it's kinda hard to describe. It's mostly what you'd expect, mimicking punching and blocking with your hands. I think that you can get rewarded for blocking your opponent's punches as these icons under your health bar light up, and then the next big hit you land will do bigger damage and knock back your opponent. The big issue with it is that, since you're really just punching the air, there's no effective way to convey a sense of weight to the player. The character in the game may be getting punched or be staggering from a big hit, but in real life you're just standing there. I would say the developers did alright with the resources they had though. I like the health system in the game, where your health bar slowly refills during the course of the match, rewarding you for having good timing, blocking, and keeping yourself from taking hits. Unfortunately, throwing punches is not as accurate as it needs to be. The game ought to be able to detect your hand's position, and mimic that movement in order to land punches on whatever part of your opponent's body you want, but most of your punches end up going directly forward, or just not being picked up at all. So neither of these games really has bad boxing, they're just not that fun.
It's almost, come on, champ, lay down already.
Excuse me? What? Why? I get that this game's setting is a vacation resort, but why these? Why this? I can tell you guys just wanted to make the sports menu look nice and symmetrical, but really? It's definitely good this one didn't make it into What is that? Of all sports, and I guess this counts as a sport, to feature as an entry in both series, I would not have expected power cruising to fit that category. The Kinect Sports Rivals version of this is inoffensive, I suppose. You turn by turning your arms as if you were holding handlebars, and you open and close your right hand to change speed, like you would on an actual jet ski. That part is actually more responsive and accurate than you might expect. I guess that's where all the Xbox One Kinect development money went into, justifying that I buy an entirely new one. But overall, it feels like this sport is only here for the spectacle and the advertisements. This type of simple gameplay can only get so exciting. Okay, maybe I was a teeny bit harsh on the Wii Sports Resort power cruising. If you can get into a flow where you're keeping your balance and getting through these gates decently fast, it's almost a little bit fun. If you aren't doing really well in this game though, it feels awful to play. I was pretty surprised that basketball didn't find its way into Kinect Sports. I imagine it had to do with time restraints. I feel like it would have been a better fit than the final version of football they have in the game, but I'm sure they thought they could appeal to a lot more dads in America with football, which is fair. But through the bits of research I did for this video, I found out there actually was a basketball DLC that you could purchase for Kinect Sports Season 2.
3 full basketball activities. 3-point hero. Shot party. In alley-oop dreams.
So make of that what you will. Basketball in Wii Sports Resort might not seem like much at first, but if you play a few games of it, you may find it pretty satisfying. Making your opponent's Miis fall flat on their faces, jumping into the air for a dunk like Superman, or flying in to make a block from 20 feet away. There's a lot of fun to be had with this one, though it probably won't keep everyone's attention the way bowling or tennis can. Perhaps the most interesting part of this sport is its accompanying minigame, the 3-point contest. A very simple game that's perfect for the pick up and play style of Wii Sports, with the added layer of being so goddamn annoying sometimes. What the f? This minigame has gained infamy online for being extremely finicky. It's so difficult to get a perfect score in this, it's absolutely ridiculous. Why is it so hard? Why is it so inconsistent? Why is it so addicting? Please, just give me one more. Let me try one more time. Let me do it. Let me do it. Let me try it. Let me do it. Let me try. Soccer shows up in the first Kinect Sports, as well as in Rivals. I kinda like soccer in the original. It's not gonna blow your mind, and this may have been one of the easier routes they could have taken with it, but it can be fun, and it's probably the most involved sport in the package. Basically, you'll have the ball at your feet, and the game will give you two teammates as options to pass to, so you kick to send the ball in one of the two ways. The other player, or CPU, will act as your defender, trying to block the ball in whichever direction they think you'll send it. If they do intercept it, their team will have possession now. You get the ball down to your forward, you'll get a chance to shoot on goal, and the other player will act as the goalkeeper. I wish you could react a little bit better to subtle movements so that you could be really accurate with your shots, but it is what it is. If the goalkeeper blocks the shot, it often goes out for a corner kick, sometimes resulting in many corner kicks happening in a row, like a bunch of corner kicks, like a lot. I wouldn't say it's crazy satisfying to score, but it's fun enough. And defending can be kind of fun if you're playing with a second person. This is a game I might voluntarily play from time to time, but only if I have the Kinect already set up. I'm not sure it's worth clearing space in a room for this game on its own. Kinect Sports Rivals Soccer tries to keep the same spirit as the original, but honestly it's way worse and more different than I expected it to be. It's set in this weird virtual reality room with one real player per team. Each of these positions is occupied by these weird hologram versions of yourself, and the CPU defenders slide back and forth on short little rail paths. So now you have to kick the ball with the right timing to slide it past the quote-unquote defenders. And what do these fake defenders mean for the player who doesn't have the ball? Well, it means that they do nothing. They only play goalkeeper now. They just have to wait for the other player to get down the field and shoot, or to kick it into a defender and turn the ball over. Oh, by the way, shooting is not something you get time to think about now. You have a split-second window to react when the ball gets to the striker's feet or to their head. And honestly, this timing window is way tighter than it should be, meaning a lot of these final passes end up just rolling slowly past your striker, and watching your possession end in the most pathetic way possible. Archery works on the Wii because you have two things to hold on to, being the Wii Remote and the nunchuck, and this allows you to simulate the action of pulling back a bow. There's a target, you shoot arrows at it, and you get more points for getting it close to the center circle. You get to play on a bunch of different stages though, in different locations throughout Woohoo Island. Some of them will make the target much farther away, some of them increase the wind speed, some of them have planks of wood directly in front of the target. I'm sure what most players remember though is the giant hidden fruit. In every stage, there's an enormous extra target in the form of an orange, cantaloupe, watermelon, cake, bread, or even a giant timer somewhere out of the way of the target.
Unbelievable. 10.
All of these targets are far away and difficult to hit, but if you do get one, you'll get 10 points, the same as a bullseye. And you get one of the game's stamp achievements if you manage to strike them all.
Ooh, I'm Sheena. Ooh, give me 100 points.
I'm going to assume that Rare experimented, or at least played with the idea of having archery in one of the Kinect Sports games, because it seems like it could be a cool full-body activity. Realistically though, I think Kinect would have trouble telling apart the player's hands, since one of them would be directly in front of the other. Plus, even though the Kinect's hand sensing isn't really bad, I don't think it was prepared to handle the teeny tiniest of motions like that. So ultimately darts is a better choice, but it feels a little weird that it's here at all. I'm guessing they had a tech demo based around detecting and tracking hand movements, and decided to turn it into a game in the form of darts. They added in some artificial shakiness to replicate the imperfections of human form so that people wouldn't find this one too easy, but it just ends up feeling finicky and inaccurate more often than not. It also attempts to track how quickly and or straight you move your hand forward to throw the dart, but I'm honestly not convinced that it works the way it's supposed to. All in all, I would say it's extremely underwhelming, but I'm not sure how exciting anybody expected Kinect darts to be in the first place. The saving grace of this game mode, however, is how you can absolutely piss off your opponent if you're playing against the CPU. If you move around enough or put your hand up to your mouth and yell, they'll get repeatedly aggravated, and you can even mess up their shot if you do it with the right timing.
Go backwards.
Because this game sucks. Frisbee, in a Nintendo brand deal only slightly less odd than putting Mercedes-Benz into Mario Kart 8, has a game mode dedicated to it in Wii Sports Resort. It doesn't look exactly like real disc golf, as you actually play on the game's regular golf courses. But instead of a Frisbee golf hole, there's just this giant pillar of light extending up from the green now. The main game mode here is actually called Frisbee Dog. This one is alright. I always think it's going to be more fun than it actually ends up being. It's a cool concept though. This game loans you this Me-style dog, which looks like it looks. The game gives you a spot on the ground to throw towards, and the dog will go catch it. The closer your throw is to the target, the more points you get. This game doesn't always feel the best. It seems like they could have made the physics a little more refined. By the way, this game mode is a lot easier if you remember to hold and release B to throw the Frisbee.
The initial throw. I'm sure it will be a good one. Like a streak of lightning.
I think track and field was a very smart addition to Kinect Sports. You have running events, which are hard to replicate with a handheld controller. And you have javelin and discus, which feel more natural and accurate with full body motions than what you can do with a Wii remote. Well, mostly accurate. Track and field includes 5 events. 100-meter sprint is sprinting, hurdles is sprinting and jumping, long jump is also sprinting and jumping, javelin throw, where you run and try to throw the javelin at just the right time, and discus throw, where you try to emulate the discus technique, kind of. You can also choose to play all these events back to back as a pentathlon. The replay value in each of these events is totally up to the individual. The throwing events are good high-score games, but I don't think most people are going to be very invested in doing the sprinting or hurdles over and over to get a faster time. It's just running in place, and you can get enough of that in the other sports like football and baseball. Swordplay in Wii Sports Resort is a fun idea, and makes for a decent showcase of the Wii Motion Plus technology, until you remember what you learned from Wii Sports Boxing, and start rapidly wagging the Wii remote back and forth, creating a nearly impenetrable wall of nonsense. Your goal in the main mode is to kill your opponent. Not with a blade, mind you, as these little plastic whacking sticks would be better suited as wiffle ball bats. No, your objective is to smack your opponent in the face until they fall off this 400-foot platform and almost certainly die upon making impact with the water. I haven't mentioned any of the mini-games so far, but I want to highlight these two. Within Swordplay, there's Slice and Showdown. Slice is a 2-player game where a comically oversized object will fall in front of each player, and the objective is to slice it in the indicated direction before your opponent does.
Oh, nice slice!
It's fun, it's cute, I like it, but I don't go out of my way to play it. The third mode is Showdown. There are 10 levels, each taking place on a different section of Woohoo Island, and your goal is to fight your way through hordes of enemies, I guess? I don't know why they're all ganging up on you like this, but at least everyone is wearing the proper safety gear. Regardless of motivation, you need to cut down every foe in your path without letting yourself get hit 3 times. It's another neat idea that lets you be in the cool scenery around the island, but it's really too long and you get sick of it after a few levels.
Way onto the field.
I feel like American Football for Kinect works much better as a concept than as an actual game. Playing quarterback and throwing the ball sounds cool, but how do you make the rest of it fun and engaging? Turns out it's not so easy to do. Football was included in Kinect Sports Season 2, and it's about as bare bones as you can get. Basically, this game is just throwing simulator. You pass the ball to one of your 3 receivers when their symbol turns green, and then you run in place to get to the end zone and score. The game lets you choose between plays, but they all end up exactly the same. If you can't get to the end zone in 3 plays, the game lets you try a field goal, and you just have to stand in place and kick your leg relatively straight.
What a kick! Oh, and
and misses the target.
That's it. That's the entire game. You don't even get to try playing defense. You can tell that this game is only here to appease the American market, because on the European box art for Kinect Sports Season 2, the avatar in the front is playing tennis, whereas in the North American version, he's playing football. Canoeing in Wii Sports Resort is kinda neat. You use the Wii Remote like an oar and move it downwards to paddle. You tilt the bottom towards either the left or the right to move the oar to that side, which is how you steer. It's not all that engaging, but it works. It's really not bad. It's kinda fun to try and beat the time trial. Honestly, the best part of this is the big pond that you can paddle around in during practice. You can find a bunch of little ducklings who got separated from their mother, and they'll follow you if you get close to them, and then if you bring all 10 of them back to their mother, you get an achievement stamp.
Congratulations! Slow motion replay coming up now. Check it out.
If you know anything about how Kinect games play, or even what a Kinect is, you can probably guess how skiing works on it. You lean from side to steer and try to beat a target time. That's it. It's not interesting. There's not anything more to the experience than what you're imagining right now. I honestly wish I had more to say about it, but I don't. I genuinely don't. Why is this here? Why? This is nothing. It does nothing. It doesn't even replicate motions that you would do while wakeboarding. You just tilt the remote to go left and right, and then shake it when you get to the top of the wake to do a trick. It doesn't have intuitive movements like tennis or baseball. This would work better on Wii Fit with the balance board, but even then it wouldn't provide much value. There's just no reason to come back to this one. Also, the announcer is way too excited about literally anything happening.
Whoa! Right on! Looks great! Yeah! Nice jump! Wow! There it is!
They really try and trick you into thinking it will be exciting by using the Mario Kart countdown sounds at the beginning, but we all know the truth, Nintendo.
Rein it in there, champ. You ain't even learned to climb yet.
As far as I can tell, rock climbing was the big new addition to Kinect Sports Rivals. I can't say that's the case for 100% certain, as obviously I don't recall seeing the slightest bit of advertising for this game when it came out. This one is okay when it functions. Basically, all the gameplay is moving your hand to the next peg, holding it there for half a second, and then it locks on and you use your other hand. You can also pretend to jump to get up a big gap. Oh, and you can grab your opponent's legs and throw them off the side of a cliff. That's pretty interesting. And morbid. Overall, it's another game mode that works but doesn't really feel like it has a purpose. It doesn't feel like they were trying to make a super unique, fun version of rock climbing. They just needed a version of it for the title. And that's a big issue with titles like this, especially on the Kinect. They're in the space between being a simulation game and a cartoon game. They can't seem to decide which one they want to be. Cycling, while definitely an improvement over wakeboarding, is still an odd choice. It feels pretty strange to be pretending to pedal a bicycle with your hands like this. Pedal your bike by moving the Wii Remote and nunchuck up and down, but watch your little hearts in the top left corner, because if you pedal too fast for too long, your Mii will get tired and have to rest. So try to keep pace catching up to the other racers while managing your stamina to win. There's also a little Mario Kart Wii-esque draft mechanic where you can reserve stamina and get a little speed boost by cruising behind another racer for a few moments. Overall, this one just doesn't control as well as you'd like it to. The fun part about cycling is getting to ride through the different roads and paths of Woohoo Island. There are a few different stages going over different parts of the map, but despite this, it's not a very exciting game mode. It is cool that they brought back the idea of racing around this island in Mario Kart 7 though.
Serve must count. How did they stop that?
7-0.
Let's catch that again on the replay. The winning team.
I definitely sound like a broken record at this point, but this sport seems to mostly be here for the spectacle and not for interesting, engaging gameplay. It controls as simply as it looks. You just put your hands out in front of you when the game prompts you, and then when your character goes to spike it, you bend and unbend your knees to jump and put your hand above your head a little bit. You can pretend to do the real motions if you feel like it, but by no means are they required. No matter what way you hit the ball, it seems to pretty much go to the center of the court every time. There is very, very little autonomy in this sport, and it's really not satisfying to play, even when you're winning. The most iconic part of Wii Sports Resort. Arguably one of the most iconic parts of any Wii game. No, not you, Dogfight. Nobody plays you. I bet most people watching this forgot you existed. Island Flyover. Admittedly, not a sport, but it's really cool because you get to check out every part of the island and the little islands surrounding it. They created this really, really cool tourist destination with a town square, caverns and tunnels, hotels, white sandy beaches, an unnecessarily huge suspension bridge, historical monuments, a windmill farm, a separate island made into a golf course, a cruise ship, a blimp, a giant cycling path that cars also drive on, which seems wildly unsafe, ruins of an ancient civilization, a pond on the side of a volcano, Oh yeah, I forgot to mention earlier. Why are we doing archery in a goddamn volcano? You would literally die from just standing here? Anyway, it's pretty fun. The objective of Island Flyover is to fly around the group of islands in a little biplane, which you are definitely not qualified to fly, and visit as many landmarks as you can. A landmark is counted as visited when you touch the little eye symbol next to or above it. There are a total of 80 eye points to visit, some harder to find than others. As you collect more, you can unlock options such as playing during evening or night, bringing a second passenger with you, or getting to pop balloons which are placed all over the island. It's very chill to play, and you don't even have to collect these eye points if you don't want to. You control the plane by tilting the Wii remote, taking advantage of the Wii Motion Plus's gyro sensor. Dogfight. Very strange inclusion. I'm assuming it's only here to provide a multiplayer version of Air Sports, but I don't think anybody would have been upset if it wasn't here. Again, definitely not a traditional sport, and it's certainly nothing special, but the planes in this game are silly, and I'm not opposed to it being here. Oh yeah, and I guess there's also skydiving? It's not that notable, but certainly not offensive. It's mostly just here for the very first time you open the game, as it's the first thing you do. If you choose to do skydiving from the main menu, there is more to it. You try and link up with as many fellow skydivers as you can and face the camera to take pictures. The more me's you get in one picture, the more points you earn. And that's pretty much it.
How hard can it be? Just point and blast them!
Nope. Don't even try it. Not even going to elaborate. It's not worth your time. It certainly wasn't worth my time. And it hurts your arm. Most sports within each title also have a number of mini-games that go along with them. These include hitting floating golf targets, home run derby, returning tennis shots, curling your bowling ball around barriers, and whatever the hell's going on with darts. These mini-games are usually nice and inoffensive, and add just that little bit extra to a game's value. You may be wondering why I didn't cover this sports game that came out for the PlayStation Move. Well, that's because it doesn't exist. I made it up. The fact that you believed me there for even a moment shows how little anybody actually knows about the PlayStation Move. These are the sports games published by Sony for the PlayStation Move. Never heard of them? Understandable. The Kinect may have been rushed a bit to try and capitalize on the motion-controlled gaming craze, but it was honestly a cool concept, and while it was never destined to stick around long-term, the Kinect was unique and had a neat little period in gaming history. The PlayStation Move, on the other hand, was a much more blatant knockoff of the Wii, and it didn't do well, in no small part because people who wanted to play these kinds of games probably already bought a Wii. I know that some people did have a PlayStation Move, and some of them probably had a good time with it, but when the only thing you have to set yourself apart from the competition is bocce ball, and players can't even customize an avatar for themselves, you are not setting yourself up for success. Overall, I think the Wii Sports series has more general appeal. It almost single-handedly sold the Wii, and they sold a lot of Wiis. The Kinect is a nifty device and not terribly complicated to set up, but I think Grandma is going to have an easier time getting into a Wii since it's simple and intuitive and also didn't release as an add-on to a console that's not known for family-friendly games. Even if it didn't live up to all of its ambitious promises, the Kinect will always have a place in gaming history, being the first camera-based, motion-oriented accessory to bring a quality, controller-less gaming experience to the world. I said quality gaming experience. By the way, each of the Kinect Sports titles allowed you to play online over Xbox Live. I doubt this is a feature that many people used on the 360, or even realized existed. But if you tried this out, let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to know how well it worked. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. This is the first long-form video essay that I've tried to do. I really hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Till next time, be good to each other.